Hey, welcome back to part 5 of my ancient Greece slideshow. This is Mr. Metcalf. Today we're going to be talking about democracy in Greece's golden age. Okay, and when I say Greece, we mostly talk about Athens. Okay, because Athens is really going to shine during this time period, um, partially because of the Delian League, and partially because of their rulers, but really because of the Delian League and the fact that they're able to get some money from them. So, democracy in Greece's golden age. Let's go. Let's go. Okay, let's go. Here we go. Pericles. Pericles is the leader during this time period. Okay, he has 3 goals. He wants to strengthen democracy. He wants to hold the empire and strengthen it, and he wants to glorify Athens. Okay, let's just take a look here. No, we don't want that. Okay, so strengthening Athenian democracy. Okay, he wants a more direct democracy. He wants to make sure that even the poorest people can participate. He wants to increase the number of public officials in office, more people to take part. And he is going to make sure that Athens is at the head of the Delian League. Okay, it's strategic partially because he wants to be able to glorify Athens, which means he's going to have to get more money, which means he needs people to pay taxes from the Delian League. Okay. His next thing, hold and strengthen the empire. So one of the things, right, they're just getting done with like 20 years or more worth of war. So what they need to do, right, their fields have been trampled, homes destroyed, Athens was burned to a crisp by the Persians. So what he needs to do is increase trade so they can get more, better goods for them. And then finally, he wants to glorify Athens, which is basically as it sounds. He wants to make Athens look like one of the most beautiful cities, or the most beautiful city that is out there today. Okay. All right. So let's look at strengthening democracy first. Okay. Increasing the number of paid public officials, introduction of direct democracy. Let's take a look at this picture here. Okay. And make this a little bigger. All right, Athenian democracy. This is how it's going to work. Citizens who are male and 18 years old and are born of citizen parents, okay, they're the ones that are citizens. That doesn't matter your wealth status or anything like that, okay? Laws are voted on and proposed directly by an assembly of all citizens, not just some, all citizens, okay? Leader is chosen by lot. Now, what lot is typically they would throw stones, colored stones, into a pot, and then you would, go from there. Whoever had the most won. Okay. Executive branch is composed of a council of 500 men. Juries varied in size depending on who showed up that day. Typically, it was quite a few, though. And there's no attorneys, there's no appeals, and they're one-day trials. Let's get it over with. Let's have the stuff. Let's get it over with. Okay. All right, U.S. democracy. Let's compare it with U.S. democracy. A citizen is anyone born in the United States or who has completed the citizenship process. So we in the United States have a much larger base for who a citizen is. Okay. Now, I'm not saying it's easy to get citizenship if you didn't start out a citizen, but the opportunity to be a citizen here is much larger. Okay. Representatives here are elected to propose and vote on laws. And they're representatives. They're supposed to represent the region or area that they are coming from. Okay. We have an elected president. We also have an executive branch made up of elected and appointed officials. All our juries are composed of 12 jurors, and our defendants and plaintiffs have attorneys and very long appeals processes. And sometimes court cases can go on for years, right? So if we look at both, right, what they both contain. Both political powers exercised by citizens. They both have 3 branches of government. A legislative branch passes laws, an executive branch carries out the laws, and a judicial branch conducts trials with paid jurors. Okay. Actually, they didn't have paid jurors back then. So, all right. So there are some benefits, right? It does allow more than just the wealthy to participate in government. Okay, so that's a good thing. All right, let's look at strengthening the empire. Okay, Athens took leadership of the Delian League. Those who didn't wish to participate, they formed their own. They formed their own alliances. Okay. Now, Athens used the money from the Delian League to build up the navy. It had the most powerful navy, and this, right? Think about this: having a super powerful navy means that you can control um, the waters which you sail in, which means you can have excellent trade, or at least maintain excellent trade, because you can travel safely, right? Does that make sense? Okay. Glorify Athens, right? They're going to build fantastic buildings, sculptures, all sorts of awesome things that are going to make Athens the most beautiful city in the world. Okay. Basically, Pericles convinced council members to use Delian League money to purchase gold, ivory, marble, so that they could build these fantastic things, pay the artists, the builders, the sculptors, etc. Okay. Here's some examples of Greek art and architecture. If you look at it, everything is graceful, it's strong, it's peacefully formed. Now, listen to this. This is key. It's idealistic looking, not it's a little unrealistic, right? It's idealistic, what your ideal would be, right? Everything is perfectly proportioned, okay? It's not emotional, okay? They capture the ideal human body in motion, what they believe it should look like, not what it actually does look like. That would be realistic art. This is idealistic. Drama and history. Okay, so they're really, during this time period, they're going to start creating some seriously awesome tragedies and comedies. Okay, and these things are going to express civic pride, and they're going to be tributes to the gods. Okay, they're tragedies and comedies. They're always going to have some kind of tragic hero who has some kind of tragic flaw, like hubris, for instance, or pride, right? They're going to address the issues of the day. It's going to be kind of like slapstick comedy. Okay. They're going to examine issues like justice and strong. They're going to have strong women's roles. Aeschylus, Sophocles, Euripides. These are going to be some of the people that are going to write. Their slapstick comedy is going to have very crude humor, making fun of politics and representing, and making fun of politics and respected people. Which, okay, I think this is important, right? And Aristophanes is one of the people that writes these things. The fact that they're able to make fun of politics and respected peoples and ideas in these plays, in these tragedies and comedies, I think shows the amount of free speech that they had. Okay, the fact that they didn't they could say these things and make fun of these things and not get arrested or killed or anything like that is pretty powerful. It's a pretty powerful statement, and it really shows the idea that we are going to build off here in this country of freedom of speech, right? Okay. Under the Dorians, if you remember way back, the Dorians, there was nothing recorded. It was like 400 years of blankness. Okay. Now, epics of Homer recount some of those stories that happened during that time period, but they're not completely accurate because they're told by a poet, and they're embellished because he's a storyteller, right? And they're passed down orally. Okay. So finally, during this time period, this golden age, now you get this guy named Herodotus and this guy named Thucydides that write some of the very first history. Herodotus writes the book on the Persian War, which is the very first work of actually history, just reporting on what's going on. Okay. Thucydides has this saying: certain events and political things occur. If we study them, they would help us understand the present, okay, and how we go about the future. Okay. All right. So let's go into. This is Greece's golden age. I mean, they're rich. They're safe. They're powerful trading. Okay. Now, it's not going to stay that way. Okay. So we're going to go in from this golden age into an age that's going to eventually just tear Greece apart. Okay. The Peloponnesian Wars. This is basically war between Sparta and Athens, if you want to just get right down to it. Okay. Okay, let's take a look here. This is Athens is growing in wealth, prestige, and power. Other city-states are going to start to dislike them. Okay. Because if you think about it, Athens is the city that's really being glorified, that's really taking all the money, they're building it up, making it look pretty, okay? Sparta, especially, is not going to be happy, so what they're going to do is they're going to declare war in 431 BC, okay? Now, this isn't really that long after the Persian Wars, okay? Fields have recovered and things like that. Cities have recovered, but still, it really hasn't been that long of a peacetime. Okay. All right. So, Peloponnesian War. Athens has a way stronger navy. Okay. The Spartans are ground, land based, strong. Okay. Sparta's got the stronger army. Their location made it near impossible to be attacked by sea. I mean, if you look at where they are located, right there, they're pretty far inland. Okay. Now, Pericles, he's not a dumb guy. His goal was to avoid a land war. Okay, he wanted to wait for an opportunity to attack at sea because Athens had a super strong navy. They had a good army, but not a super strong army. So here's what happens. Sparta's going to march into Athenian territory, and as they go, think about this is mean, but it's intelligent. Okay, as they go, they're going to completely destroy the food supplies. They're going to wipe out fields, kill animals, whatever they can. Okay, what Pericles does is he brings all the residents of the Athenian city-state of Athens. He brings them all inside the city. Okay, now this is fine and dandy as long as ships can get into the Athens port. Okay. During the second year of war, plague strikes Athens and knocks out a third of the population, to include their leader, Pericles. Okay, things, who knows? Maybe things would have turned out differently if Pericles would have lived. I'm not sure. Okay. 10 years later, both sides, Sparta and Athens, sign a truce. Okay. However, it's not over. In 415 BC, so just 6 years after the truce was signed by both Sparta and Athens, Athens sends 20,000 soldiers to the island of Sicily to destroy the Spartan ally of Syracuse. 2 years later, they are completely defeated. The Athenians are completely defeated. Okay. Now, for 9 more years, Athens is able to fend off attacks from Sparta, but eventually they are going to surrender in 404 BC. Okay, and this is when many are going to lose faith in Athenian democracy. This is when you have a guy like Socrates and other philosophers who are going to start challenging the truth, challenging what they've been teaching in the Golden Age. Okay, about the gods and things like that. So Sparta's the victor in the Peloponnesian Wars, but really there is no victor because the war just, I mean, it's going to, again, decimate. Think about all the things that Sparta is destroying as they're marching on Athens each time. All right, let's look at philosophers. These guys are going to start to surface more and more. Okay, they've been around. You have Plato and Aristotle, have been around for quite some time, but Socrates, who has learned from Plato and Aristotle, he is going to really start questioning government and values, at least not necessarily questioning, but putting out there ideas that, hey, let's think about this. Is how we're doing things right? Should we continue to do things this way? Okay. Now, philosophy back then is based on these two assumptions: that the universe is orderly and subject to absolute and unchanging laws, and that people can understand these laws through reason. Okay. Philosophers were determined to seek the truth. They wanted to know the truth. Okay, so you get these people called sophists. They're questioning people's ideas about justice and other traditional values. Okay, Protagoras questioning existence of traditional Greek gods, no universal standard of truth, right? Man, they said man is the measure of all things, not the gods. Okay. Along comes Socrates, who's been, a student of Plato and Aristotle, and um, you get him encouraging. He says basically absolute standards do exist for truth and justice. Okay, they're absolute. There are things out there. He encourages Greeks to question their own moral character. He says the unexamined life is not worth living. Okay, eventually he's brought to trial in 399 BC for corrupting the youth of Athens and neglecting the city's gods. Okay, so really, let's see. Who knows? I might get in trouble for playing this one too, but we're not going to watch that. We're not going to watch the trial of Socrates, but basically what happens is he's found guilty of doing this, even though all he's really doing is saying, hey, you got to challenge what you're taught. You have to look deep into yourself. He's not trying to overthrow the government. He believes in a strong government. He actually believes in the gods, but he's saying you need to question and challenge and constantly your beliefs and things like that. Okay, and that's something that all the philosophers, that they really are, well, not all of them, but a good portion of the philosophers, they're like, hey, think for yourselves. Okay. Anyway, he's condemned to death. He drinks hemlock. And basically that is the end. Okay. Now, the thing with this is really going to be the end of the golden age of ancient Greece. They're going to lose their power. They're going to not have any. Athens is not going to have the power they once had. Sparta is Sparta. But we're coming up upon the time where the Macedonians in the north, another Greek tribe, are going to eventually conquer the Greeks, take them over, and then we'll get out into Alexander the Great. All right, so that's it for today. Thank you. Have a great one.